Warm greetings. Welcome to Wednesdays for Water. We are a citizens collective aiming to walk and talk water. We try to meet every week and connect people with various water worries and wisdoms. And in the process, we wish to curate future water warriors. The way we talk about trivial things for hours, water too needs walking and talking to address the rising water distresses. The way Wednesdays for Water is conceptualized as a prime time show, it wishes to make water everybody's business. The idea of the series was conceptualized in August 2020, and by the end of the year, the team and the structure was pretty much in shape. We started in April 2021 with Dr. Rajendra Singh's inaugural speech. We wish to bring science and society together, and therefore we try to bring in every session either a policymaker or practitioner and a researcher or academician. We also think that future generation is crucial and therefore they have presence in each session. We are going stronger with every week now with session on either quiz, couple of weeks of hard talks and a week of soft session of art and music. There is a simple structure for each session of quiz, hard session and soft session which are moderated by the core team member. Here is a glimpse of what we call as hard sessions and soft sessions.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our another session of Wednesdays for Water. We are always happy to have you on board to discuss various issues related to water. Today, we are going to discuss interlinking transboundary waters, keeping in mind the recently signed MOU between the three tri-parties, Government of India, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and Government of Madhya Pradesh. We from the team of Wednesdays various institutes and organizations, and we will talk more about it later on. But moving on to the topic of today. Today is more of a panel discussion, and we will request all of you to chip in your views, so it is more open forum than speakers talking and having a discussion with each other. So please go to the next slide. We have with us today Radhica Kanniganti, Simar Kohli Nivedita Sahu. Our discussion today is Gautamee Bhaviskar. Gautamee, could you please move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So Radhika is basically having her startup called Dedic Earth, which works on pollution control. Will you please stay on that slide, please? And she is also heading the Karnataka Water Resource Council of the Wiki. Simar is having her own initiative called as well, and it's that one organization, basically state also representing Water Resource Council. We also have Dr. Nivedita Sahu. She is a senior scientist at CSIR, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. She represents as a Wiki State representative from Telangana State. And we also have our lovely Gautamee Bhaviskar, who is today's discussant as a MSc student and working with so today we are going to have our agenda in the following manner. Next slide, please. Layers of talking about this interlinking business between boundaries. So although interlinking project is looked as linking two water bodies or linking more water bodies into it, but we thought that we will bring the discussion to more institutional level where this transboundary or hydro diplomacy comes into picture. So in the beginning, I'm going to discuss basically international transboundary, where I will present a paper which was later converted into book chapter for Springer. Then we get into the depth of interstate transboundary, where we take up the Ken-Betwa river link project, which is the main topic today, but we just want to round it up with all levels of transboundary and interlinking aspects. And Gautamee will present her distinction and thesis on interdistrict. So we will touch upon administratively, ecologically, and people oriented as well. And focusing on are these more scientifically sound initiatives? Are they more participatory in terms of society? How are the conflict and cooperation mechanisms are really worked around in the institutions? So these are just broad ways to really look at it. Then I just jump into the international part as mine. The layout of today's session will be that I present all the three transboundary on behalf of all the speakers today, and then I open the floor for everybody to chip in their ideas. So we prepared a joint presentation for all of you so that we can save time and have more discussion between each other. Next slide, please. So here we start with the international transboundary, and I took up the Indus Water Treaty, and it's one of the largest water international water wide-away treaty, as well as it is also one of the largest river basin in the world, where Indus Valley civilization is also there. And it is also one of the most vulnerable interlinking or transboundary work which has been carried out between India and Pakistan. And it is also one of the longest standing water treaty between two countries in the world. Needless to say that we do have a lot of geopolitical differences, but what it stands out between the two countries as an administrative point, which is what the focus of today also, how to manage these international or interstate or interdistrict boundaries, is that the peace approach between the two countries, whenever it has been discussed, this transboundary has been instrumental in negotiating that peace between the two countries. So somewhere administratively, we can see that it ties the transboundary agencies or organizations or the states or nation states. But on the other hand, we also realize that there are a lot of things on stake when these kind of interlinked administrative systems are worked out. So needless to say again that Indus Valley is also one of the richest biodiversity recognized in the world. Next slide, please. It has basically 5 rivers going around. Sorry, I was talking ahead of the slides, but because this is not the topic of focus today, but I still wanted to give you an overview what goes on here. So this treaty, which is 1960 signed between both the countries, is basically having a basin share, which is majorly from Pakistan, then 29% from India, and very minor from China and Afghanistan. But what is the catch here is who is at the upstream and who is at the downstream. So when we are going to look at this upstream, downstream dynamics, we will see also in Ken-Betwa how that is going to matter in future as well as in today's time. So in here, India sits in the upstream. So it has basically more stake in the way how much of water share is going to go downstream. So whenever there have been conflict, you may have come across this kind of, warnings from this side or that side. However, both countries do not have the choice than to do water share. So these are other aspects of it. But just to give you an overview that in transboundary water or linking of these kind of water shares is not limited to inter-district or interstate or international. What is interesting is that over 300 of the international transboundary studies are very well conducted around the world, and it is mostly studied in the peace. However, when we come to the state level, next slide, please. We find that the studies, number of studies starts reducing. And there are reasons for it, because the studies are more governance oriented, and that makes it study very difficult and complex. And then research becomes all the more difficult because the stakeholders are aplenty. So if we now get into some more examples of interstate before we jump into Ken Betwa, we are all aware of the Kaveri problems between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. It is again one of the longest standing conflict between two states in the independent India. And we have yet not resolved it. Every time there are some judgments and amendments made by the Supreme Court and also by state level. Interestingly, the Kaveri committee is yet to be finalized. So I'm just giving you these administrative hiccups when we get into these kind of situations, and more so when it has an overlay of political, political, I will say, privileges or even prerogatives. So if the states are ruled by the same parties, you will see in those years the files are moving faster, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about the state level, these things will matter. So apart from water and ecology, which I'm going to focus more in the Ken Betwa side. Next slide, please. So we do have many interstate issues as well. Going next to yes. Uh, uh, who is going to change the course of the river, how much water share is going to be made is still remaining the problem in Kaveri issues. Then we come to the next example, which is between Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, another issue where it is not only water share, but also most of the time these transboundary deals are sharing. It's a barter system between few things, you know. So between Gujarat and MP, like we have give water and take energy kind of situation. But if you look at the details of today, I'm not even getting into the problems of local people got displaced and so on and so forth. The fauna and flora got changed. But just focusing on the administrative side, there are issues between the two states when Gujarat is not sufficiently producing electricity and returning it back to Madhya Pradesh, and at the same time, the catchment of Narmada is having problem and it is not able to really follow what has been signed as an agreement between the states. Next, please. So these are some of the institutional administrative challenges. And with this kind of background, I bring you to the Ken Betwa. I hope you have gone through the fact that the Ken Betwa link project is now final. Tripartite agreement between Government of India, Government of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. And needless to say, the political environment is very conducive for this project. Otherwise, the project was actually conceptualized long time ago. It's nearly sitting since 1980 when it was identified under the National Perspective Plan, which is actually the National Linking River Linking Project, where 30 more interlinking of river project has been conceptualized. So Ken Betwa is going to be the first of its kind. So after a lot of hiccups and few things here and there, finally it has been signed and it is going to be implemented now. Next please, Gautamee. Yeah. So as the name suggests, Ken Betwa, the water is going to flow from Ken to Betwa, and both are Yamuna's tributary. That is important for us to know. And then if you are reading these days newspaper, Yamuna is already flowing high on water, and Ken has more water from Yamuna as it's supposed to be written, and Betwa is more drought prone. That's the argument, as the first argument which I want to bring in front of you. Then, so basically the water is going to flow from Ken to Betwa. Important in this river basin to understand is that the most of the river basin is in Madhya Pradesh and very nominal part is in Uttar Pradesh. But again, this whole upstream downstream dynamics is going to work. And only 51 kilometers is the interlinking part. So this is also something which we need to understand in a river which is 427 kilometers only, yeah, which is the Ken River, where only 15. What are the logics which are given as a benefit of interlinking, which we need to understand from our project here? Next slide, please. So just to remind you, because where Ken is located, it is also near the Panna National Tiger Reserve, and also these days you must have heard about the Bakswaha Forest, which is also near here. So there is somewhere this water development narrative. Next slide, please. So we need to even think about beyond the administrative conducive environment to get into this kind of water development projects. Do we need to think whether we are talking about only water supply for the humans for farming, or are we also considering the ecosystem at large? So most of the resistance in Ken Betwa is coming from the ecosystem side. And another thing which is very surprising is actually the forest department which has approved the Ken Betwa Leaf project. You may be aware that the Panna Tiger Reserve is part of the Ken Betwa project. And in that project, from the Tiger Reserve project, 40% of the Tiger Reserve area is going to go under submergence for the major dam which is being planned for the Ken Betwa project, and the dam's name is Dam. So if we are to choose between a dam which is going to take away the right now it is basically 80%, not sorry 40%, but 80% of the Panna Tiger Reserve which comes under the dam plan. But if we really go think logically, its entire forest is supposedly to disappear with the making of this Daudhan Dam. So are we ready for this trade-off between not having the forest and the tigers and have the water dam for in canal, which is going to be another river recreated by humans? And these are some of the issues which are actually stalling the project for a long time. So Supreme Court has finally cleared and the project has already started. And another thing which is alarming for particularly people like me is that the data which has been used to approve this project is 18 years old data. So there is no new study also. Next slide, please. New study also has not been carried out to get this project approved in the recent times. So there are some alarming points which needs to be discussed here. On one hand, the positive side talked about is the Bundelkhand region, which is drought prone, will get some water, and the flood prone area will get rid of some water. So Yamuna is considered as one of the flood prone areas, and especially in the northern part and in the Uttar Pradesh part. Now, do we talk about creating a new river and at the cost of losing the existing rivers? That is also one question which has been raised by environmentalists time and again. And it is all, I think, personally for me, it boils down to, are we going to design everything for humans and where are we going? Next slide, please. What about the ecosystem? What about the tigers? And is it really going to help? Because large dams so far have not been successful in solving the water problem of the country. So if we keep on investing money, and you see that this project cost is, by the way, old project cost, the new cost is not yet revealed. If we keep on thinking about large water infrastructure to solve our water problems, are we going to really reach anywhere? So I read a good article from Himanshu Thakkar, and I'm sure you all know him from Sandy. No one needs the Ken Betwa link project. It was his article a couple of years ago, and this is where I want to bring the institutional point. Are people taken on board to discuss this, to decide this? So people's participation in this kind of policy has been a weak link, in my opinion. Next slide, please. So there's no doubt that these water projects are very much fancied as large infrastructure. I would definitely like to encourage the younger generation to look into the cost of large infrastructure vis-a-vis the cost of small infrastructure and empowering the local water systems. So there are 6 steps which has been very well documented how this project has gone through. And one of the points which I would like to highlight again is that the 18-year-old data which has been used today to finalize the project. So no new ecosystem study, no EIA, no new, data of water and data of even cropping pattern and need of water has been really updated. Next slide, please. So another aspect which I am more keen, even if we let's say we are doing it for people and not for tigers and forests. Let's say for a sec, are people really considered into this whole project? Because lot of displacement, very much like Narmada, is going to take place. Have they been part of this policy? Are environmentalists, who are these environmentalists who have been part of the policy? And I know a lot of people who have been resisting this project, but I'm very keen to hear the plus side of it. There's a good article on the plus side of it from Drishti IS, which is basically a governmental document, and I really like the project in which they have put the project. But then with these points, I open the floor, and may I invite Radhika first to really place her points on this project, and then we can take it further from there. Radhika? Yeah.
Thank you, Mansee. That
Yeah.
was a really good overview. I think, I mean, some of those points that you have raised are extremely interesting. Now, I was looking at, first, looking back at the history of interlinking rivers, right? I mean, I think there's a lot to learn, and when you look at the past, in order to sort of mold the future. So the interlinking project was proposed first by Arthur Cotton in the 19th century, right? And that this was more to mobilize the movement of goods, and through and part of it was also to provide water to the southern states, because the northern rivers were considered more I guess had more water. As a concept, I think it was great, but as they progressed over the years, they just took the concept without, I feel, looking at the local implementation. I think the local ecosystem needs to be looked at when you're looking at the interlinking of rivers. Have they really looked at that in a locally? For example, when rivers kind of wind through the forested and cultivated areas, they carry silt, and that silt is sort of deposited along, and kind of that's the basis of our rich agriculture. Now, what happens to that when these rivers are diverted? Has anybody looked into that? And then you look at the minimum flow of rivers, right? If rivers flow at the minimum flow, then what happens to that ecosystem? So have people looked into that when you keep talking about interlinking projects, as a big project, interlinking rivers as a big project? I think lastly, I think you touched upon this point as well, is, in terms of surplus, they identified some rivers as surplus and some rivers as deficit. And how do they really identify it? What defines a surplus river? What defines a deficit river? And have those definitions changed, over the years? Coming to specifically to the Ken Betwa project, I mean, the whole project is meant to help the Bundelkhand region, which is one of the most economically deprived regions in the country, with 79% of the population live in rural areas. 1/3 of them under the poverty line. So, and the reason for that is primarily sparse rainfall and dropping groundwater levels. Now, from the studies, it comes out that the geology over there is mostly granite. So while there have been a lot of canals and check dams built, I think they have not been able to successfully recharge the groundwater table. Now they're saying the Ken Betwa link will help recharge the groundwater. Is there data on that? Have they actually done the studies? And interestingly, you mentioned 18-year-old data. So where is that recent data to show that this project is going to be the game changer in the Bundelkhand region? Do we have that? And have they, and how, and we have a lot of good esteemed panelists here, and in the audience, have we what is the extent of local water management studies, watershed management studies that have been undertaken in the Bundelkhand region? Have they been tested? Have been tried? Is it just limited to building a canal and a check dam? Has it really been integrated into the entire kind of region, taking into account the geology and the usage? And as you mentioned, people, I think a lot of studies have shown that people do not even know what this project is. They are, cynical about it. They don't know if this is going to help. They believe that maybe something local might be better. So have they really been taken into account in this project? So I know I have a lot of questions, but I would like to just put them out there for, for consideration, because there seems to be a lot of missing links over here. And again, when we talk about the surplus versus deficit, with so many years of sparse rainfall, is it really true that the Cane River has surplus water that will feed the Betwa? So do we have recent data to show that this Cane River is a surplus river? So again, we don't have that information. And I think lastly, I would like to bring up that there are so many innovations today, both technological as well as process-driven innovations in water conservation and water management. Can we not throw out a challenge to all the technologists out there to come up with an innovative solution for solving the water crisis in the Bundelkhand region? Do we need to think so big, to kind of link the rivers, submerging hectares and hectares of forest land with little evidence that it will really help recharge the water, or help the local people there? Do we really need to do that? Can we not look at it in a more local manner, look at more innovative solutions to solve the problem on the ground locally, as opposed to looking out so big? Like you said, there are going to be so many people displaced. Has there been a due consideration of public opinion? So I think so there are so many questions out there, and yet all clearances have been given, and the project is going to start. So I think I would just encourage just some discussion on it, and some basically some thought on this to see what is the alternative to solving that problem. We know the problem of water crisis exists, but can we look at alternate solutions? I think that's what I would like to put out there.
Thank you, Radhika. Thanks a lot. I think I'll just add one line to your good arguments to look for alternate solutions. Do we have projects which are happening on ground at local village level and district level, which are out there in the public, where we can say, and we can even do a trade-off or comparison, that this large top-down approach is more viable than investing in the local system? So we need to fish that out, and somebody may be interested on that. Exactly. Another important point is that the ecosystem will flow. The soil will flow from A place to B place, which will also change the vegetation, which will change the animals, which will change everything. And where are we going to take our tigers from there? Exactly. So these points are there, and with these points, I think I invite maybe Simar Kohli to really put in her points here. Yeah, Simar, over to you.
Hello, thank you. Looks like everybody has pretty much covered everything I'd like to say, but it just feels like for any of these big projects that happen, we tend to react very late. Ken Betwa, this discussion has been on for very long. Many magazines have spoken about it. Many journalists have reported. But I would just like to add that, we are all downstream.
Yes.
We're all downstream. So anything that happens on a river affects us. And I think the tricky thing here is, I'm not really qualified to be in this panel, because I've not really looked at something at a basin scale, looked at water at basin scale. You really need hydrologists. Maybe Nivedita would be a better person to be talking about it. But out of interest and passion, I've worked on projects which involves children auditing the quality of the water. Say, for example, from source of the river to mouth of the river, if we can get children to go and test the quality of water, aggregate that data on an app, then we can have a children's view of the river. And so, like, you know, talking about transboundary waters, I think we need to talk transbasin now, because like water doesn't see boundaries. And you know, we've tried to do some initiatives, have some initiatives here in the Kaveri basin, and that can really bring children together from you know, Kannada speaking as well as Tamil speaking, you know, and the next generation may want to do something about it. So that is a preventive measure that we take, that we get children, we tell children that this is your water, this is your river, we take care of it now, and then you have to. So then if there's pollution coming in, then they can report. So that is more like in terms of the advocacy we can have, but that's in the long run, right? In the short run, looks like all we can really do is really talk about this in social media, because we, like, there are people like Himanshu and a few others who've been fighting this, or you know, like the RTIs to file. There's so much to do. Who amongst us is qualified to do it, right? But we can raise public opinion by involving people, like coming up with a campaign at Wiki. We can do this. We ourselves have so many councils, because this is not just a water issue. It's a water, energy, food, wildlife. It's connected to sustainability, everything. This is a very artificial way of like creating abundance in a place where there is drought, right? It is not a sustainable idea. And this is not just a dam project. There'll be transmission lines, there'll be roads, there'll be fragmentation of land, there'll be displacement of people. So from sociological, technological, economic, ecological, and political views, if you look at it, none of it makes any sense. A lot of these big projects don't make any sense. It only benefits the contractors, right? So from a people's perspective, I would say, like, we can make noise about it, and that will support the people who are fighting this legally. So in the process, we may find people, but that's all we can really do, because, you know, like when you look at a river system, the first thing is the forest. If you remove the forest, who makes water for us? Where does the water come from? If you remove the forest, you're only asking for more devastation, right? So deforestation is a big problem. Dam building is a big problem. Chemicals going into organic farming, non-native varieties of plants, industries, industrial waste coming in, cities, all of this are causes that kind of are anthropogenic forces that are completely destroying our future, right? So what can we do? One is raise awareness. Second, in terms of innovation, I work on a very sustainable wastewater treatment system. If we, like, I'm in Bangalore city, and I know if we treated all of the wastewater generated from the city, if we treated it and reused it, we can meet half the city's needs. So I'm guessing, like Bundelkhand also, if we reuse the wastewater to start with, where is it going? So to basically look at a sustainable model, what we need to see is where is water coming from and where is it going? And we need to close the loop, right? So one is wastewater treatment. And with wastewater, there are other issues, like sewage treatment plants cause other issues because they're power-based and chemical-based, need maintenance. Again, it's not sustainable if you burn fossil fuel to treat wastewater, right? So how do we address the water energy nexus then? So the work that I'm doing currently is we're promoting something called the Decentralized Treatment System. It is DTS. I'll share a link after my bit over here. It's basically an improvised septic tank, you know? So without power or chemicals, through bioremediation, you can get clean water, and you can say use it for agriculture. We can, because, you know, all these big dams also promise drinking water to some people, and then, you know, people start migrating to this one place, and then there they create a scarcity. Then some other development happens. That this has been the story. So we have to decentralize everything, and really reuse of water, more children for advocacy, for protecting the river. And essentially also, I firmly believe in the long run, unless we are building sacred forests. See, we are also, Bangalore city is also on a granite hill. You know, we are located like that. We are not very, it's a semi-arid place. So what can work in the long term
Your
is,
voice is cracking.
can you hear me now? Yeah. So what can
Simar, your
really,
voice is cracking.
can you hear me, Radhika? Can you?
Yes,
Yes.
we can actually hear you. Yeah, quite clear.
Okay. So basically what we can do
Your
in the
voice
long
is
run,
cracking. Is everyone hearing your or
We can hear her, Mansee.
so essentially it is through regenerating a regenerative design like the wetland system, right? Like we need more lakes which are not like tanks, but we need like small sacred forests that no one touches with like native varieties of trees and a shallow pond to encourage the diversity, you know, and over long term, then we can replenish groundwater and do all of that. Like the wetlands act as a sponge, right? And then they will, and the trees attract moisture and also give out moisture. So like these are some of the things that we can do, like more local watershed developmental projects that may be useful in the long run. So this is all I had to actually share, and I'll share a link of some of like the treatment system that I was talking about. Thank you. On this note, maybe I could ask Nivedita to basically share your points now, because
Okay.
yeah.
Nice to hear about your thoughts and all. Of course, I do agree with all three speakers, starting with Dr. Mansee, Radhika, and Simar. Regarding this, actually, this discussion is water war. We can say water wars. This was
am I audible?
Yes, absolutely. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Please, Nivedita, go ahead. Yes, I have some issue
Without your
here.
permission,
Please,
I started.
please, that's very good. That's collective work.
So just going back to my talk, actually this discussion, as per my view, it was motivated from 1995 speech of UN Nation Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in Scotland, where he stated that the wars of the century have been on oil, but the wars of the next century will be on water, unless we change the way and we manage water. So water conflicts, actually in one area it focuses, it's not only in at present particular, it is lying since very past decades and decades, in not only in our state, in our own country, but it is not really transboundary. It is an international topic, and this has came because of the increase in water scarcity globally, and because of all this, this is the one of the major reason why this water conflict it is coming to the picture. So water conflicts, actually it is creating it, this conflicts is coming over different groups, like competing groups, various groups for water access, controlling water, like or suppose it is coming in the territory region, it has came to my territory, so it is my things. Water, like this type of quarrel or fight between, so this person to person, it is coming state to state, district to district, we can say. No, not district, first home to home or family to family, that it is coming to district level, it is coming state level, it is going country level, then one country to another country, like international boundary line. So this war is continuously, it is growing like a very, like you can say, constant and increasing shape. It's so water war, we can say that, because we have enough this water scarcity, which is growing, maybe because of the availability of the fresh water, wetland resources, water resources. So many things are coming now in the water picture. And to control this or to have a solution for all these things, some communities fight not only against the water resources. What I mean to say, water availability means water resources. To overcome some some solutions are coming, like creating artificial lake, artificial wetland system, making dam. In this way, this this Cane and Bathwa, that project is coming. Here, the main movement of water is the upstream, downstreaming to upstreaming. Water movement from downstreaming to upstreaming. Okay, whatever the project is there, but what is the future aspects, or what could be the effect of these things to the ecological surroundings, to the as the tiger reserve forest is there. Not only the tiger, because but all other is starting to micro organisms, whatever it may be, living in soil, air, or fauna or flora of the nearby forest. Everybody will be affected through this project. If the water availability will not be there, or else if cane water is full surplus, it may provide to the surplus water can be taken up. But if the cane water will go dry, we never know. If the water will not available, what will happen to the local ecosystem, local flora, local fauna? So many living organisms which are depending on the water. So we all have to see that there should be proper ecological balance has to be has to be considered. Very it is a very important matter. So as per my view, I can see some solution like that there should be sustainable water management, improving water infrastructure to be given very priority wise. Water conservation and water efficiency should be the key component for this particular sustainability achievement. And then reclamation of water, as Dr. Simar said, we should also have pollution control and better sewage type of treatment, like a lot of industry that discharge that should not be given directly to the river, or there should be proper check should be there. If that check is not under control, there should be proper auditing, EIA or some controlling management body should be there to have a regular assessment, or else some solution should be also there. If the pollution water or untreated water, how it best can be treated, and it should be reused, recycled. Okay, every things, because now water pollution is also one of the big alarming topic. But what is the solution of that? Solution is only to have a recycle and reuse water with innovative technology, with our conventional technology, with long back our old age technology also it is there. But the practices should be implemented. Then comes to awareness education. Awareness education, not only kids or children, of course, they are the future generations of our country, but also the elderly who are there, the middle age, all has to be aware about the things. So this awareness and educations about the what I'll give you later. This water bodies should be there on priority basis. Among this awareness, when comes a part of this ecology and animal things, when we concerned about our own self, like human health or human things, drinking water is coming to a priority basis. So if you are coming, there are a lot of challenges to having a safe drinking water for all, and which is all human being, which is a right for everybody. Okay, right to have a safe and healthy drinking water to have. So the water bodies, whatever it is, should not be polluted enough by any other anthropogenic activities or any other nonsense activities, I can say. Not only anthropogenic, so many other Unknowingly also we are doing, knowingly also we are doing. And we are taking as a river as a taken for granted to do anything for our mythological things also, for any things. If you want to, we will clean our house and we will say, okay, for apna suddhikaran karna hai to river mein dal do, like that. That mentality we should change. Okay, that soch we should take out from our things. So this is not only for kids, this is also for all age group of people. So this is a practice or longest practice that we should bring in our lifestyle. Then only this awareness and all these things will come. Then coming to this, when I was saying about the little selfishness from things my side, that we do also have some innovative technologies for getting safe safe water. And we do also have some technologies for instead of creating wetland and all, for drought areas or for water scarcity area, we have some technology, like we get water from atmosphere things. Okay, like atmospheric generating machine we have. So with that technology, with that help, we get fresh air, the humid air. That humid air we convert to the water, and it's a very simple technology, as we all know that we are having AC in our houses. So with the same mechanism, how AC is taking our water and throwing out, similarly we are taking outside that humid and getting to our useful water things. So that is atmospheric water generator technology that we have developed, which will be very helpful for this drought region area. So instead of creating artificial dam and disturbing lot of habitats, lot of people there, lot of creating political issues, I think this is a very nice solutions which could be implemented in a and taken up in our this type of policy discussions also. Then some other innovative interventions are there, like technologies can be provided with not only IICT. There are lot of other institutes are there, national level institutes are there, research organizations, private organizations, and many other institutes are there who can provide so many sustainable technologies for generating wastewater to useful water. Then the third one also, where we are not looking, one more option is rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is many of that we used to just speak, but we never concentrate on. That will also help. That will not disturb our river ecosystem. Okay, so man-made all artificial activities can disturb river ecosystem. The Canaan Bhaviskar project also, that is a major concern, is the disturbing of ecological balances. That is the one of the major concern. Why we have to look more and more in that particular things. Micro level and macro level, both will be disturbed. There will be no doubt in that. That may be in downstream or upstream. We have to see that things. A part of that, our that tiger reserve forest, Panna reserve forest also. Not only tiger that species is only, but a part of that, we do also think for the forest, that plants, that soil microorganisms, air microorganisms, plant microorganisms, even some are useful microorganisms live in water also. So if we disturb any of the things, that will disturb the entire ecological pyramid. It will affect one by one, day by down the lane, it will affect everyone. So we should consider all these things. And with these things, I will just say, so noble, inexpensive technologies are there. We have to rightly find, rightly search, and place it there. And of course, in that we do also have some helps, and our wiki partners, certainly they will be having. And this matter should be given to our all wiki other groups also, not only water things, because water is not for only waters. We can fight for everybody, but water is needed by each and every group. So we women from wiki, this is, as we wiki, we all from wiki are there. So as a representative from wiki, I strongly urge that this message should reach to all wiki members, that water has no boundary. everybody has concern about water. So each and every we women should come together to fight this issue and should come with lot of solutions. If together and team, nothing is impossible, everything is possible. And so these are the things, and we can become water warriors also, a new word from my side. Up to you now, Mansee.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you so much, Nivedita. I think one thing is becoming very clear from all three of you is you were talking about a very bottom-up decentralized approach where the Ken Betwa is more of a top-down centralized approach where large infrastructure is not going to disassociate the local people, but also local people, if they don't know, and then Simar is talking about engaging children. Come on, we have to engage men and women first, and then children, tiger, and other animals. Because the tiger is in talk, but the moment tiger and forest disappears, we are talking about millions and of species disappearing from there. So children are really far in that line of participatory policy and planning in the country. In fact, they are the last. We still talk about tigers. We don't talk about children. So we do have to think about it. But I think we will have another session on these aspects of large and small infrastructure, because I'm also getting a feeling that when there are more women panelists, which was not intended, by the way, that we are always talking about the details. I believe God lies in details, and that's why we talk about details. Water management can be resolved more at a micro level, of course, with a larger overview, and that is the message coming up. I now bring it to the last session to Gautamee, who can just wrap it up and also give her say, and she also has some questions. Over to you, Gautamee. Yeah.
Good evening, all present here. First of all, I want to say that the discussion was really resourceful and fruitful, and it really started off well that when Dr. Mansee started with the international global scale, and then we touched upon till the local micro scale. So I just want to wrap up, and few takeaways for me from this session was, so at international level, so usually when we talk about international water share, we always talk more on water as a war or as a weapon for war. But whereas ma'am showed us a case study where water is an instrument of peace and is a means for cooperation, which was a really good takeaway for me, where usually when debates are going on war, but we can talk about peace and water as an instrument of peace. Then going at the state level, as from all the discussion, it was came out, and also ma'am presented that more attention is given to administrative boundary rather than the hydrological boundary. So somewhere hydrology and hydrological boundary should be taken into consideration while we are planning and managing the resources. And there is a water energy share and nexus. So the case which ma'am presented, so somewhere there is no closed loop in the case of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, and the similar cases in the other state boundary situation where there is no closed loop in the water energy share nexus. So there is a need of that closed loop. So when we talk about barter system, there should be equal give and take, but somewhere one is at disadvantage than the other, where in this case where we say somewhere upstream, like in the case of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh is somewhere in the disadvantaged side compared to Gujarat. Then coming to the Ken Betwa case, so all the panelists, these were the common points came out. So first was the issue in the data management. So somewhere this project, there is a there are many missing links and there is lack of data. So we need a proper data management, which should be properly, the data should be geo-referred, or using new innovative technologies like GIS and remote sensing should be used for data for the project implementation and for studying the project. Another came up was the ecological balance. So somewhere when we talk about all these big infrastructure projects or any development project, somewhere ecology is on the back seat, whereas like there is a lot of talk happening in media about ecology, but somewhere when it comes to the implementation part, ecology takes a backseat. So somewhere there should be a proper balance between development and ecology. Then another interesting Simar ma'am raised that we should involve youth, children, which can be advocacy planning approach for the awareness. And somewhere in this project, as Radhika ma'am and Nivedita ma'am also mentioned, that people doesn't know about this project. So somewhere all genders should be involved, and there should be awareness about this project at large. And then another point came up about collective action and about the need of local, more micro level solutions and technological driven solutions. And as all were agreed upon, that there is a need of decentralized approach. And yes, finally the change in perception. So somewhere we need to change our perception that what actually we need. Do we need large infrastructure, or do we need same needs can be catered by the small infrastructure or green infrastructure or other innovative approaches? So somewhere there is a need of these change in perception in people, as well as all the scientists and all the educated people. So there should be a change in perception. And in general, I can see that there were majorly 2 points where this discussion can be summed up. Is one is people's participation, where we need more people's participation in all the projects, development projects and other management, not only in the phase of project preparation, but also in the implementation part. So somewhere we as a citizens take backseat when it comes to the implementation part. Why can't we also take step into the mud and start helping and start with get involved in the project? So somewhere people's participation is important, and somewhere ecosystem should be given more importance compared to other things. So with this, I would like to present my case, and these are the other, I want to mention that other studies by the other people on Ken-Betwa river linking. So which are like one, I can see that it is based on groundwater potential zone using innovative technology like remote sensing and geographical GIS system. And there are other studies, interesting study by Joshi, where he has talked about fish diversity and ecology and aquatic ecosystem health and management. So somewhere in the water project, somewhere fishery and fish diversity, somewhere it is not mentioned much. Also in the EIA reports, we usually see this component is somewhere missing. So that this is another interesting study. There are other studies on interlinking of rivers by Y.K. Alak and other authors. These are the scientific work. So now I would like to present the local scale, the interdistrict or within state transboundary water, which is somewhere not talked much. We usually talk more on the international and state level. So somewhere this case talks about the war between the within state district, between the districts of the same state, that is Maharashtra. And this is the case of Upper Godavari sub-basin in the Nashik, and the conflict is between Nashik, Ahmednagar and Aurangabad district. So this basin is roughly, it's around 21,000 square kilometer, which is home to more than 10 million people. And this sub-basin covers around 7% of the entire Godavari basin. So, talking about the major dynamics about the upstream and downstream and other climate policy and technology. So one thing from the study, we noticed that there, in general, the region, which is the Upper Godavari sub-basin, received less rainfall. So less rainfall, but somewhere people have their own way of getting their water share. Like example, people take support of microcredit systems, or they lift water illegally. So somewhere there are issues, but some people try their way to get their water share. Then another interesting fact we noticed that there are, being a water distressed region, still there is a water intensive crop is grown, that is sugarcane. So somewhere water distribution is not based on cropping pattern, so that should be considered. Then there is lack of efficient water distribution system and tariff collection, and there are heavy transit losses. So when we talk about large infrastructure, so this is the another major issue faced, that there is lots of transit losses when water is like when it comes from upstream dams to downstream dam. So when water is released, so somewhere there are heavy transit losses. So huge infrastructure projects sometimes fail due to this reason as well. Then finally, as we all know, hydrology is not paid attention while drawing the administrative boundary. So somewhere it should be taken into consideration, which would ultimately reduce the disputes and over the shared resources. And why we took up this case? So as we noticed that Maharashtra is the threshold where there are worst interstate within state water protests and water conflicts for the water share. So and why it is important to study the within state boundary, as somewhere water crisis, the drought situation leads the water conflicts, and the conflicts ignite from local to global level. So somewhere regional scale should be studied and documented well, but somewhere in our country it is it's not in place. So somewhere regional scale is not much given emphasis. So there should be there is a need to document this regional level transboundary and the local level transboundary. And somewhere people's participation plays an important role in the water share. And when we talk about transboundary water, where somewhere people try their way out for their share, be it like taking help of local microcredit system, or drawing water through illegal methods, but they have their way, and somewhere they have people have there is a lot of participation when we talk about the shared resources. And finally, I want to end my talk based on opening up the floor, that do we really need a large infrastructure, or like there should be small infrastructure would be enough for the water management, and should we there should be more local management system use, or like do we really need a dam for water management? So on this note, I would like to open the floor for the discussion, or any other points if.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Gautami. I think it's a very valid question that I mean, it leads us to a one point question, that do we need large water infrastructure when water problems can be solved by people themselves with informally and formally crafted rules, and this has been there for tradition. I think we need to understand the hydro diplomacy here. We need to understand the political economy here. I will just say one line from Himanshu Thakkar's work, yeah, and he said it very well. No matter how good we think about water cooperation, nobody is going to share their water, um, uh, because every part of the country is water distressed. So we look at drought and flood as different phenomena, but they are interconnected phenomena. So nobody wants to share water in X time, and nobody wants to share water in Y time. So flood may nobody wants water, drought may everybody wants water. So how do we really imagine to share this water? That's another part. I think, but one thing I want to also pinch everybody to really think more hard. Have we solved our water problems in last 100 years of damming the waters? One point. Another point, if Panna is already giving so much of diamond, then everybody in Panna should have been billionaire. Do we have those billionaires sitting in Panna, that we are going to have more of those forest deforestation? Mind you, Bakswaha forest is also not far from there, which is Chhatarpur, just next to where this dam is going to come up. So who are we making these water systems for? Somebody sitting in central system, or somebody sitting very remotely, and then local people are unaware, or local people do not have say, or they do not agree. But at this point, I would like to bring one person on board here who I would have wished to have him right in the beginning, but we could not reach out to him. And Harsh from Mandate, who is very much part of it. Harsh, we would like to hear you and your points here. Please chip in. And then rest of the people can also add in here. I'm sorry we are going a little late, but usually that has been the point. 10-15 minutes are usually going little overboard in these sessions because these are very interesting discussions. Harsh, are you there? Okay, Harsh. Or anybody else who has questions for any one of us or want to put their points, please feel free to put your points here.
I would like to add something. I'd like to actually clarify something from Ms. Nivedita. You mentioned that we are taking water from downstream and putting it upstream. Can you please explain that?
Kane and Bathwa, this project is actually from down to up or like that.
Yes, it's a reverse.
Exactly. So when you are taking, when water is surplus, this okay. When water is not surplus, obviously, then that will be ecological imbalances will be there.
This is not going to flow.
So it doesn't make sense.
These are aspirational projects. If you read that whole project, it's a very well crafted idea, the National Perspective Plan, which is National River Linking Project. But see, we need to understand that these are ideation projects. When we have to bring them to practice, I think we need to have a little bit more, rigor in way of looking at it. In Ken Betwa project, it's also a hydroelectric project, by the way, because there are these dams going to come
generating
up.
electricity. Yes.
Yes.
Those are all byproducts.
Yes.
Those are all byproducts. So, and none of this is like really clean energy, at the end of the day. So like the one thing that came to mind is like, when we say data on water, the one big thing even hydrologists will agree is it's very difficult to measure water. First of all, if you see water in a dam, it's like in cubic something. When it's running, it's something else. Otherwise, it's in liters. So it's like, it's difficult to look at water. You cannot measure the water in soil. Like, how do you measure water in the atmosphere?
There are I'm not a hydrologist. First of, let me, I'm an algologist. Okay. But there are some techniques like GI, remote sensing.
Of course, but they are all limited.
There are studies with that, of course, and even in groundwater, surface water, you can see the levels of water is there and all. Maybe with that, some study, they are saying that Bhargava is the drought reason. But if it is a drought reason, then during rainy season or monsoon season, some water will be there. Definitely that water, and the summer season maybe. What I think, I don't know the exactly, but I feel maybe that is a seasonal problem. That seasonal problem, exactly. How much it is affecting to the local public, people, forest, and how much like after create this infrastructure, dam and all, how much it will be affecting the
the EIA is missing
and all.
The EIA is missing.
Exactly. So entire that environmental auditing is missing. Entire biodiversity study is missing. Those data I will actually lead you whether that has to be taken up or not.
Anyway, project is taken up, so that we are discussing what's happening.
We are late, but nevertheless,
we have to talk about 29 more interlinking projects are there. But what is important? Okay, Harsh, I see. Sorry, I couldn't speak. I have been listening in from work. Okay, Harsh, would you like to now chip in? What is more interesting is that most of the people, they talk about water and I get a little bit panicked because water is not only water. There is a life in water, So we completely forget about life in water. We are always looking at water for irrigation, water for industry, and water for hydroelectric, and water for drinking. There is more purpose of water. We cannot survive without water.
And it's both ways. It's like we need the water for the forest. We need the forest for the water. So it's like interconnected.
Forest. That's an, I'm telling you, an ecological pyramid is there. Okay.
All of life.
If you disturb one micro, that will slowly go on chain type of and constantly
it will show
like a pyramid.
But actually we are seeing that now with all the dams, have we solved the problem of the country? No, because it is now we are seeing the impact, but I think we would like to get people on board. Otherwise the girls are very good in talking to each other. Harsh, would you like to chip in? Because we want to hear you.
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I completely agree with you. I think water, if we look at it purely from the perspective of utility and what it can do or doesn't do, then that's a very limited perspective. And I think
if you don't mind, please, I'll just disturb hers. I don't know about other partners, but I am interested to see your face also.
Okay.
Yes.
In that case,
Me too. Me too.
Okay, you'll have to give me a minute then in that case.
Okay, sure. Okay.
But
Yes.
I wasn't going to add much at that point. I think if you guys would like to continue, I'll make myself presentable quickly and then join.
No, please go ahead. Please speak. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just join in a second and then put on my video.
Yeah.
I see
So the
Murugan
point
is
I was-
there, Kiran is there. Let us invite others to join in. Kiran is there, Murugan is there, Kalyani, would you like to add some point? Nishant is there. I still
So
we wait.
to complete the point I was trying to make earlier,
Sure, sorry.
it's like, so water is not just difficult to measure, and I'm quoting Ramaswamy Iyer and Professor Gore, who are very accomplished like hydrologists. Like it's difficult to measure. B, it is like water governance. How does it work? Like if it's a lake, it's a common pool resource, but if it runs through my private property, I can dig a bore well and I can like take that, like, so then it's private water. So how are we looking at water? And for me, really, it is all a problem of privatization of water. The assumption that, if we privatize water and make it a commodity, then we'll work, this supply.
Dam itself is a commodification of water.
Exactly. So those things, and if you see worldwide, big dams have not worked. They have failed. America has gone back to break their dams.
Yes, so de-damming has started in the world. I think we will take another 30, 40 years. Japan has started, Italy has started, America has started, Canada has started, if I remember correctly. So all developed nations are rethinking about dams. Because we are developing nation, we are behind. Can we leapfrog and do what they are doing today instead of going through the same mistake, facing the same problem, and then going for it? This is something I think we have to take it in another session. But I think I'm getting strongly convinced about even talking about gender and water, because I was looking at the committee of Ken Betwa. I was really looking for women. Of course, Uma Bharti was there for quite some time in that initiative. So yes, there is a woman there, but not substantial. Harsh, are you there?
Maybe Ganesh would like to add.
Ganesh, yes, Harsh, we see you. Okay. So Nivedita's request has been fulfilled. Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry, my thing went, previous meeting went longer, could not join, missed part of it. But when it comes to monitoring of water, measurement water, I believe at a smaller scale it is much comfortable compared to a larger scale. I agree on Simar's point that, but yes, the technology is evolving. I'm sure there are ways to do it in a more sophisticated way. But my knowledge in the large scale monitoring is limited, so I can't talk much about it.
Thank you, Ganesh. Harsh, we are waiting to hear from you. The mandate project and very much involved with the Ken Betwa and the Bundel region. Please go ahead.
So I'm afraid substantively, I'm not going to be able to add anything better than those who've come before me. But in terms of, so I'm a lawyer by profession.
Okay,
and,
so I have some work with you.
Sorry?
I am going to reach out to you then for another.
Please, definitely.
Please go ahead.
Happy. So I had a discussion with Radhika a few days ago where she had filled me in on what the discussion was going to be about. And admittedly, I was not looking at the Ken Betwa linking project. But I think largely in terms of how discussion and dialogue and everything else goes with respect to any of these large projects that have significant adverse impact on the environment. I think, if I'm not wrong, Simar in the beginning had mentioned that we react really late. We come to the scene when everything is pretty much done. The agreements have either happened, whether if it's happened under protest or not. Usually that part of the discussion and the movements are reactive, and that's true. And I think the main thing that all of us have to work towards collectively is to be able to identify these things earlier on in the development process. Also to bring people across, not just those who are within the discourse, who understand what's at stake, who are already agreed at what the adverse effects are, what needs to be solved for. But the important thing is also bringing in people who are perhaps outside of that discussion and who don't agree, who see things very differently.
Yes.
So the more inclusive it gets, the more you cut across not just disciplinary boundaries, but also ideological boundaries and facilitate those discussions. I think despite the differences, you will still find some common ground which focuses on specific issues that can be solved for by everyone. So I know this is very broad and high level, but those are my 2 cents at this stage. And really enjoyed this discussion. So thank you to all the panelists.
Thank you, Harsh, and thanks everybody, all the speakers, Nivedita, Simar, and Radhika. And today we truly actually represented Wiki, which was the very idea of Wednesdays for Water in the beginning. And I hope our other Wiki girls join, as rightly pointed out. And thanks to my team who are here and all the other participants who have attended today's session. I want to announce the next session today. We have the 3rd week of Wednesday next week, and that is our soft week, and we have the mime artist, well-known mime artist Kunal Motling, who is going to talk about value of water, as well as he is going to perform live. So do tune in for our next Wednesday. I'm sorry for the delay today, which is usually normal nowadays with this Wednesdays for Water, because we get engaged so much that we actually lose time or the track of time, and usually we are actually closing 15-20 minutes overboard than our plan. But having said that, we had a truly enjoying session, but more than enjoying the session, I think it is more concerning for all of us. And because Harsh and all of us, we really felt the need of people's participation and bottom up, and we do talk about it, then I think we need more discussions on water and democracy, because being proactive is part of being democratic. In a country where people are hesitant to ask question, how do we imagine a society to be proactive? We have no choice than to be reactive, because we are waiting for something to happen to react. Otherwise, we are also aware that in this large democracy, if culturally we are not trained to ask questions, how are we going to ask them? How are we going to be proactive? How are we going to prevent these kind of problems? If the interlinking project has been there since 1980, why the file is still hanging around? And mind you, we are addressing now the first interlinking project. I will consider that we are still proactive, because 29 more interlinking river projects are going to happen. So I will not see it as a reactive, but reactive for one, yes. But I wish to be optimistic towards the end of the session that we are proactive, and we want to alarm a bell for the remaining 29 interlinking projects, and of course do something for this one also. Where will the tigers go? Can I make a pet out of tiger? We need to think about it, because there are so many tigers. Why not I bring one tiger and all of us bring each one tiger to our home, because where will they go? And it's not about tigers, it's about all the animals. And then the last question I want to pose to everybody here and our audience who are going to listen to it on our videos, YouTube videos, is if any resource is going to make the local populace rich, I want to ask people, where are the billionaires of Panna? All the billionaires are in Mumbai or Delhi. They are not in Panna. So if we really talk about large water infrastructure, somewhere we miss the point of empowering local people. We, in the process, we suppress the local people and local participation. I think with these lines, I would like to thank again everybody around here, and do take care and do join us on our next Wednesdays for Water. Kunal Motling is going to play for us, and then we take it further. Lot of topics to be discussed on water. Bye-bye and take care, and thank you all.
Mansee, thank you so much for holding the fort for water. You do it every week.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for doing this.
Thank you. We are talking
Thank
water.
you.
That's important, no? Proactive. Thank you all.
Yeah,
And
thank
yeah,
you. I also enjoyed at the end note. As an end note, let me join. I am
please join
Muruganantham from
Murugan.
Dehradun.
We are done. So you please
Yeah,
join.
my
I will be happy.
internet is a little wavery and it's not stable, so I could not rise up to your voice.
No issue.
So we are doing similar kind of work of watershed management, soil and water conservation, and
Very
increase
localized,
water
huh?
availability
Decentralized.
locally in watersheds, so that we don't need to propose these big dams and all that. So it is been coming up, and it is, as rightly said, it is it's a unending discussion. It's just going on. It's on and off. It sometimes it comes up and it goes underground and surfaces and all that. So many a times we fail to recognize the importance of significant bigger projects in terms of ecological impacts. So because ecology in our country is kept at the last link. So we never bother about ecology. That is how we take these kind of projects advanced. And watershed management and kind of promotion of water availability, water harvesting and recycling for different purposes, including for agriculture and kind of life-saving irrigation, is a major potential. It has got major potential. That's what our institute under ICAR in Dehradun is focusing on, Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation. That's its main mandate, is integrated watershed management and soil and water conservation, rainwater harvesting, and kind of runoff management, which is the main source of water for the whole country. So if we can manage, if we can learn and manage our rainwater resources, then we can we'll be able to save our soil resources as well as water needs also. So somehow we are trying to do that, but times we become fail. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, it's good to see you and good to interact with all of you, and we will be in touch. Then
Sure.
I'm also a little active in kind of interacting with the people around and socializing, so we can get in touch.
We are making water more democratic.
And if ever come to Dehradun, you can visit Dehradun.
Yes.
Open invitation to all of you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all, and please take care.
Thank you.
And we see each other soon. God bless you. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, presenters, for joining us today and enlightening us with your wisdom. Also, thank you all the participants for joining us and making the session interactive. Besides walking and talking water, worries and wisdoms collectively, we see this as a platform to cross-connect and expand our network and explore possible collaborations. We are also making notes to publish both scientific and non-scientific work. Here is a glimpse of some of our writings. You may reach us through email, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also look at our website www.w4w.in. We look forward to your suggestions and comments to make the series more meaningful and engaging. And meanwhile, we hope that you appreciate today's session. We represent Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad, Terry School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi, Environmental Design Consultants, Ahmedabad, FluxGen Sustainable Technologies, Bangalore, Counterview, and we are supported by Wiki's Water Resources Council. We truly appreciate your support and encouragement in conducting this series, and we hope that you will stay tuned with us through our social media platforms and our website, and you will write to us at our email IDs.